This is Ready Set Reiki, a podcast about Reiki, the universal energy life force, from the curious beginner to the seasoned master teacher, welcoming all systems, all lineages, and all levels. Reiki is a journey and not a destination. And on this Ready Set Reiki journey, I refer to myself as a guide rather than a host. So I'm Tracy Seawright, and this is Ready Set Reiki. Hello, everyone, my wonderful listeners. Ready, Set, Reiki, Tracy Seawright. So a few things before we begin our journey today. So if you are ever interested in a yin training, you're in luck. I have one coming up online. So if you're interested, reach out, www.readysetreiki.com, www.thefeathersister.com. I'm coming to you live today in this episode from my new abode here in El Paso, Texas. So we recently moved, and so I'm in a new space. But today, we are meeting together to have a beautiful journey with a lovely guest, Jayanti Woods. Now, she is an internationally known intuitive healer, inspirational teacher who uses both ancient progressive techniques to assist and empower others in their healing journey. Now, she is a Reiki master and teacher who loves to initiate others and mentor them to develop their own skills as healers, as a conscious human being. The name Jayanti was gifted to her by an Indian spiritual master in the early 90s, and he told her this translates into the goddess of flame. It's Jayanti's passion to inspire and guide others to ignite the soul flame from within themselves and create the life they desire. Her background is in conscious breath work and rebirthing, shamanism, quantum dynamics, Reiki master teacher, theta healing, yoga and meditation teacher, and other spiritual purification practices. Now, for over 30 years, she has led regular meditations and chant groups on the Golden Coast or Gold Coast. This has basically expanded to include shamanic gatherings, individual healing sessions, and spiritual counseling and teaching others Reiki healing. Now, in 1994, she saw offerings as the first of many tours to India and other spiritual lands, and now operating as Jayanti's Sacred Tours. Jayanti leads regular tours to India and retreats in Bali and other high energy places. So let's take a moment to welcome Jayanti to Ready, Set, Reiki. So welcome to Ready, Set, Reiki.
And thank you, Tracy. Lovely to be here.
Wonderful. So let's begin our journey together. I told our listeners a little bit about you, but we would love to hear in your very own words. Tell us about yourself.
Well, I grew up here on the Gold Coast and lived. The Gold Coast, by the way, if no one knows, is one of the top tourist attractions of Australia. And we have a coastline of beautiful beaches and surfing beaches, very big surfing here, and it's grown enormously in the time I've been here. I went from here and lived in Melbourne, lived in Sydney and Darwin, and then I went overseas and lived in the Middle East for 8 years. Then came back to Australia. And that was the time when I knew that was 35, longer than that, 40 years ago, say. And I knew that, my soul was telling me I had to come back home to start working on everything that I hadn't worked on myself. Yeah. And so here I am. Yes.
So your background, breath work, rebirthing, shamanism, quantum dynamics. But our journey is talking about the Reiki. So when did Reiki come into your life? Did Reiki find you or did you find Reiki?
A little bit of both, really. It was on one of my India tours, I think it was 1995. And in the group that I had, there were 8 Reiki practitioners. And of those 8 practitioners, there were one Reiki master who was a very good friend of mine. And I saw her come through in absolute peace and calm the entire time we were there. And it can get very intense in ashrams when you're going through a lot of spiritual purification. And so I asked her after the group finished, we were going off to do our own spiritual tour. And I asked her, what were you doing to keep yourself so centered and so calm and peaceful. And she said I'd go to the room every afternoon and give myself a Reiki session. And that was it, because I just said, okay, because I was doing spiritual healing before that, but I didn't have my own calming, my own ability, to put my hands on. So when we came back, I did Reiki 1 and Reiki 2 with her.
Beautiful. Well, the landscape of Reiki certainly has changed since you were first introduced to it into the 90s, right? My
Oh,
goodness.
yes.
It is so much mainstream now. Like
Yep.
my children know about it from TikTok. They're able to say, oh, yeah, this person and that, and they're able to name all these people. So for them, there's no stigma to it. It's like just another thing to scroll on by with. So as you've been on this journey for how many years? What are some of the misconceptions you find that people think about Reiki?
Well, to be honest with you, in my world that I create, I don't hear of any misconceptions.
Right?
To be perfectly honest, because most people in Australia are so used to Reiki now,
Mm,
that it's gone. But years ago, I guess people used to think it was a bit of a cult. So that was, that in itself was very challenging, thinking that this was a cult, and so people would go, oh, can't do this, and but these days it's more and more, people are really open to it.
right, right.
So I don't know about America.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So all of your background, the breath work, rebirthing, shamanism, quantum dynamics, you're a Reiki master teacher, theta healing, yoga, meditation, and these other wonderful, beautiful spiritual purification practices. You're out being of service to so many people. But what have you found in your own journey the biggest challenge for you?
The biggest challenge for me was getting out of my head and being able to come to the heart and live it in the heart. And that was definitely my biggest challenge. Once I could do that, then the next biggest challenge was working on the core belief that was holding me back. Um, yeah, I walked into my first training in 1990. It was a rebirthing practitioner training, and I was the only one there out of 90 people. We had American teachers,
Mm,
and I was the only one out of 90 people who stood up and said, I'm doing it for myself. Everyone else said, oh, I want to heal. I want to heal. I want to be a
mhm.
practitioner. I was going, what? You're all babies. But I said, no, I want to do the healing for myself.
Right, right.
Um, but I guess that in itself was one of the biggest lessons, was that I thought I was going to walk into that training, finish it 2 weeks later, and be completely clear of all my stuff, all the trauma, all the wounds, all the wounding. And it doesn't happen like that. And it took me some time to actually discover that it doesn't happen like that. It's
Right.
incrementally as we move ourselves, as we elevate our consciousness, and there's still another layer there to come up. And
Sure.
yep.
People don't realize, like, when you begin this journey, it is cumulative. You may not see it right away.
Mm,
And I've been on this journey for a few years now. And, you have to get out of your mind, like you had mentioned,
mm,
to just trust the process with it. But you'll have moments
mm,
where you find yourself that it does work. And I was talking to my friend about this yesterday. We had moved into a new home, and I went to warm something up in the stove in the new house I'm at. And all of a sudden I smell something, and the previous owner had left plastic in the stove, and there was a fire. And I handled it and took care of it. And my friend's like, how did you remain so calm? And then I'm like, hmm, probably because you have a consistent practice. Now,
yeah.
would have been able to do that 10 years ago, I probably would have been like, right. But it was just like, oh, a fire. Here we go. And my husband comes
Mm.
from work and he's like, do you need the fire extinguisher? No, I got it. And almost, and there was no panic. There was no urgency. It was just like, it is
Mm.
handled. And that comes from that consistent, doing your Reiki principles,
Yes.
practicing when things come up, as the emotions come up, lay those hands on you and breathe. And when I took my very first Reiki training, when I stepped forward, it was to bring, healing to my family. We had loss, and I never have ever expected the journey that I laid ahead of me. But I originally came just because I was trying to help my dad, help my children through grief.
Mm.
So you never know. But I was surrounded by individuals that like, I'm going to teach, I'm going to do this. So it's just interesting.
Oh.
Yeah, it was just interesting, the group of people that come together when you begin your journey. So, as you're out in this field, as you are teaching and you're mentoring others, what are some qualities that you look for in a Reiki practitioner?
Um, Confidence would be probably one of the first things, and their own self awareness or their own self worth around themselves as a practitioner would be, some of the highest aspects. Um, I would prefer to be seeing a practitioner who's Reiki master,
Okay.
um, but at least level two, at least level two, just because that denotes normally that they have had a lot of practice themselves, with their own self healing. Because I do notice a lot of people do a level one and go out there and want to be a practitioner straight away without any, experience.
Sure. Sure.
Um, yeah, and they forget that, to go and have, friends come and family come and
Mhm.
that to give practice sessions to build their own energy and to build, their experience of working with someone. Mm.
Right.
So self-confidence, longer time, you know, um, and I think, a level of integrity, and you can normally feel that with someone, whether we can get fooled sometimes, but
Sure.
normally self-integrity is really important. Mm.
So, what are your thoughts? You had said longer time. There are some lineages out there that you can get your master's fairly quickly, and what I mean by that is like within 5 days, or
Mm.
within 6 months, or within a year. Do you see that as an issue, or do you take it kind of as an individual case by case? Like someone like me, think that fire energy, my teachers always had this type of guideline, like you need to do this for 6 months or do this for a year. And when I came into the picture, they had to reevaluate things, and they felt like, well, maybe your energy is ready for this. So how do you look at that as you have a student in front of you and well, you need to have this for 6 months, but you clearly see that this student may be ready?
Well, I always suggest at least 6 weeks between level one and level two,
Mhm.
um, and then a minimum of 6 months to do master, but maybe longer. And I have found that most of my students who have done the Reiki master with me, they've waited at least a year, if not more. So some up to 2 years or 3 years.
Okay.
If it's anything like me, I did my Reiki level one, level two in 1995. And then I didn't do my Reiki mastery until 2003, I think it was. And that's when Spirit was giving me the call, well, a few years before that, they started saying, it's time, you have to become a master. And I looked around for the master who I wanted to do a training with. And it took me 2.5 years to find the right master.
Wow. Wow.
And when I found her, it was like, oh my God, I was sitting in a yoga teacher training, and I was just looking around this group, and they were all much younger than me. And I was thinking, oh my goodness, look at them all. They're all learning what I've been doing for years and years of chanting and meditation and all of this. And here they are, they're just learning it. They gobbling it up. And spirit said, she's a Reiki master. And it was my yoga teacher. And I
Beautiful.
went, oh. And so I went straight to her when we had a break, and I said, will you make me a Reiki master? Will you be my master? And she said, oh, yes. I think I might have been one of her first students. But I knew that she was the right energy for me. So I think it depends, it really does depend on the person. I've had someone pull out because they knew they just weren't ready for it. I've had others who have done the Reiki mastery and then just use the energy of it to go on and do other things in their life.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Right. And I like how you mentioned that it was the connection of the energy. It wasn't anything about price, right? It was the energy. Beautiful.
It's definitely the energy.
So what advice do you have for someone who's just entering spiritual work?
Practice grounding your energy, grounding yourself, and soul connection. That would be number one major thing for me, is just focus on meditations that will take you into connecting with your soul and connecting into your heart, so you can start living from your heart center.
What books do you recommend?
Oh, okay. I recommend. There's one by an Australian author called The Secret Language of Your Body, and that's by Ina Segal. Brilliant book for if you're working more with Reiki on the physical. That's brilliant. A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle, and The Power versus Force by Dr. David Hawkins, which is pretty heavy duty. And I also think The Life That You're Born to Live by Dan Millman is another really fabulous one. To get to know yourself a lot more, that one. The language, the secret language of your body, helps enormously when you or someone has family or clients have problems going on the physical level, and it'll help you sort of give the client information about where it's coming from, why it's there, what emotional energy can they work with. And A New Earth too is because so many people these days still do not know about that it's emotions and wounding from childhood and all that. So I think the New Earth really does help in that regard.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. So what other services do you offer? Do you offer any classes, events, trainings?
I just did just held a Reiki one on Sunday, actually. So yes, I offer Reiki 1 and Reiki 2 and Reiki Mastery. I also do what's known as the Muneki rites, the 9 Muneki rites, sacred Muneki rites, and they're from the Andes, from the Andean elders. And they're just absolutely amazing rites to experience. And you can become a teacher of them as well. However, just to do the workshop and all the different rites that come through change so much for people. It really is life-changing. I still do occasionally the shamanic journey work. I hold Reiki, full moon meditations these days, and uh, I do some divine mother or divine feminine workshops as well, and womb healing workshop. Um, and in my practice, I do a lot of spiritual mentoring and spiritual counseling, and using the QD as well, breath work, which is a very powerful technique to release old energies. Because people just really don't realize how much energy they stuff into the body. And so it's really powerful to be able to get that and shift it out for people. And then I work with them on the table doing chakra balancing and energy clearing, and then hands-on using Reiki energy. So my sessions are a big combination, really. And they seem to be the most in demand, particularly these days.
Do you offer online and in person?
Yes, definitely online as well.
So where can we find you? If someone's listening to this and like, yeah, this is my person.
Yay! www.jayanti, JAYANTI, Or, or they can find me on Facebook and Instagram as
Oh,
well.
perfect, perfect. So you are on social media as well?
Yes,
Excellent.
not a huge, but I'm on there.
Beautiful, beautiful. So that ends the first part of our journey, and I'm going to continue as your guide to the next part, which is questions from social media and from Reiki students. So here we go. Number one, how do you ignite the soul flame from within and create the life you desire?
Woo! Meditation. Um, and also clearing your energy. It's a constant journey these days because there's so much different energy around, particularly the state that our world is going through at this time, the Maha Sankranti, the time of the great upheaval, and everyone around the planet is feeling that. So a lot of cleansing, definitely a lot of cleansing. If you are a Reiki channel, lots of Reiki,
Mhm.
self-healing, um, and the meditation to really come into your heart. That's so important, is the soul connection coming through into the heart space. And the more that you can do that, the more you're connecting into the higher energy, then the more your heart soul flame is going to start igniting, because we are here to soul and body,
Right.
really. That's the bottom line of why we're here in a body, is
Love it.
is to is to soul and body. And
Right.
yeah, to do that we must embody, and meditation is the pathway to that. And then in your day, all the time, come to your heart, we've been taught, we have it all around us, we've got to live hectic lives. Even if you try and live a quiet life, it's a hectic life.
Mhm.
um, and more often than not, we're traveling all around here, all around our headspace, and it's like, no, 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 no. In your body, you can't ignite the soul flame when you're living outside of your body or in your headspace.
Right, right. I like how you said
Yeah.
it's the great upheaval because this has been my whole life for months now. And I was even mentioning to my friend yesterday, it's like, man, spirit must have something big for me because it's been one big thing, a lot of like goodbyes, a lot of closure, a lot of letting go of big
Mm.
things. So yeah, so it's been this upheaval and big change for sure. My goodness.
Mm.
I tell you what, I mean, the Reiki, prayer, taking that time, resetting, journaling, do what you need to do, right? To
Yes,
keep
right.
that calm.
Mm. Mm.
And I mean, it's just so important with that self-care. Number
Mm.
two, now all the other amazing things that you do, you also have a meditation and chant group. Tell us a little bit about
Yeah.
those.
um, when I first went to India in 1992, I came away from there just absolutely loving the chanting. And it was just amazing. And a friend was journeying with me. And we came back to the Gold Coast after traveling around for a few months. And we came back to the Gold Coast and it was like, let's start a Chan crew. um, so we just put the banner out and started. And initially we were just all chanting to recorded chants. Because none of us really knew them that well. So we had to start learning. At one point, about 94, 95, we were having groups up to 30 and 40 people every week. It was just amazing. I loved it. Yeah. But journeying along from there now, where I live, there's events, there's so much going on all of the time. So I decided to, in 94, I started leading meditation groups. And again, I hadn't done anything like that beforehand, but I had been meditating for 4 years. And so a friend and I said, okay, let's start up a meditation group. So we did. And then today, I run a full moon meditation. So once a month, full moon meditation, because I find that the energies are just so important then. And we only do a couple of chants now instead of a whole chant session. And then I lead a guided meditation. And in the guided meditation, it's always soul alignment. And then wherever the guides lead us. And a lot of time it is to go right out to the grid around the earth to do planetary healing. The healing for the self first, the soul alignment, the chakra work first, and then either out or somewhere very special, like last month, the month before, it was the Wesak, the full moon of the Wesak, the Buddha's birthday celebration. And so we sort of journeyed off into Tibet, then came back again. It was just wonderful. Yeah.
Beautiful. So our next question, I always feel like with you, but wait, there's more, right?
Right.
Next question is, you operate Jayanti's Sacred Tours. Can you tell me about your tour in India and retreats in Bali and other high energy places?
Woohoo. All right. So they've slowed down just a little bit over over the COVID time, of course. And they will come back again next year. I'm chosen to get much more fit and healthy before doing the next one, because India's grown a lot since my previous one. I started after coming back from India in 1992. I was thinking, and I went back again, and then I came back, and then it was like, how can I keep doing this? How can I keep doing this? And I got the soul message going, take groups. It was like, really? What? And remember, I had lived overseas for a number of years, so I was quite used to traveling and organizing travel and that. So I went, well, that's a good idea. I know quite a few people who'd love to go to Babaji's ashram and experience that. So that's how I started out. These days, sometimes we don't go to Babaji's ashram. It'll be, to visit Taj Mahal. You always have to go to Taj Mahal. It's such a beautiful place. And to Jaipur, because it's like one of the most creative centers in India. And then we will go up to Rishikesh, which is one of the main yoga places on the planet. And then up to Dharamsala, which is Little Tibet in India. And that is just stepping at a time. Going there is just amazing, because India is so chaotic. There's so much going on all the time, so many people everywhere. And you go up to Tibet and you've stepped into Dharamsala and you've stepped into a whole new world. Actually, it's called McLeod Ganj, but people know it more as Dharamsala. Um, and it's like being in Tibet, or I remember from when I went to Nepal, it was like being in Nepal. Just all the Buddhists and the stupas and the Dalai Lama's presence there. Yeah, it's really wonderful. So that's been the main journey of the India tours in recent years. And as for Bali, well, I've done a Reiki mastery training, a live-in Reiki mastery training in Bali. That was very awesome. That was fantastic. But mostly, I do a combination of things. So depending on what the theme of the retreat is, there will be a lot of processing work, a lot of ceremony, ritual, and I don't know about what people understand about a lot of Reiki retreats, but there's a lot of people who go there and they drink cocktails at night and get up and do yoga in the morning and that. But that's not my purpose when I'm doing a retreat. It's so it has to be really good food and yoga normally and meditation. Always yoga and meditation every day. We go and visit beautiful temples, water temples and other temples, and get ceremony, get cleansed and etc. by Balinese priest or priestess. And depends on what area the tour, the retreat is, whether we get to go near the ocean and there's a bat cave there, which is this ancient cave. And they're just wonderful because I love Bali. The energy there is just so beautiful. And the people themselves are just divine. They're so special. They really are.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Well, that was the last question. As we've been talking, is there anything that you may have forgotten or something you'd like to share with the listeners? The floor is yours.
Oh, thank you. So I think the most important thing for people at this time, for all of us at this time, is to really get earthed and grounded and to think clearly about what's going on the planet, and stepping at a time with that, because it can get so messy and it brings up so much stuff for people that I think that we really have to step away from a lot of that. And it will be as it will be. And the more that we can connect into our hearts, bring in our own light and anchor that light into the planet, then we're doing more service for the greater good, for the planet herself, who is on her ascension journey, and for all of us who are here to do the same. Because most people now who are interested in the healing arts and spirituality, etc., are here because their souls are here to help this planet shift. So that would be my biggest message out to people, is to not buy into it. And things are getting pretty messy with the talk of World War III and that, and I just say, leave it alone. Don't go there. Just you need to remain peaceful and calm within yourself. And it's so important in many ways for your families, for your partners, and for all those around you. And for yourself.
Very good. And our listeners can find you online, right?
Yes. Yes, they can.
Site again?
Sorry?
What was your site again?
Jayanti J.
Beautiful.
www.jayanti.com.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Jayanti, for joining me on this Ready, Set, Reiki journey, taking time out of your very busy schedule.
Thank you very much, Tracy. Well, it's about what is it, quarter to midnight or something now. So
Very good. All right, my
2 minutes to midnight. So thank you
very
very much for inviting me. It's been lovely.
Thank you so much. All right, my wonderful listeners, if you'd like your question featured on the